Assalamualaikum and good day. Today we're going to discuss the tools in effective oral communication. We're going to discuss what are sound of English, organs of speech, the vowel, the rhythm of English, the intonation, and the variants that affect your speech. But before that, we're going to have a short activity. So could you please read this short poem? So I will give you at least 1 minute to read this poem. Thank you for reading the poem. So, I know yung iba is kapag nagbabasa sila ng Wattpad or ng books or poem is yung way ng pagbabasa nila is minsan yung iba is nagbabasa sila ng tahimik and yung iba naman kapag nagbabasa sila is maingay. Or minsan is nagbabasa tayo pero like tinitignan lang natin then sa isip lang natin binabasa. And I know yung iba naman is kapag nagbabasa sila ng poem or tula is nahihirapan sila especially kapag English. And yung iba is meron silang tinatawag natin na tongue twister. When we say tongue twister is sila yung mga taong nahihirapan mag-pronounce ng word. Lalo na kapag need is mabilis magbasa. For example is this. So, minsan, yung may mga tongue twister is nahihirapan sila i-pronounce tong poem na to. Kasi sa poem na to is kailangan mabilis mong babasahin. So, kaya yung may mga tongue twister is nahihirapan sila i-pronounce yung mga words. But don't worry, because in this lesson, matatakal natin or madidiscuss natin kung paano natin ipopronounce ang tama or kung ano ang tamang pronounce ng mga words. So let's start first with the sound of English. So this is what we call the Victor triangle. And when we say Victor triangle, a visual representation to show the difference of the vowels, sounds in English and their relative position of the tongue. To able to create the correct sound, you must learn how your lips, tongue, and other parts of your mouth should move. As you can see here in the Victor Triangle is may mga words or each letter kung paano natin ipopronounce ang mga words ng tama or kung paano natin ipronounce yung mga words. And also, it shows how the position of your tongue and jaw change when you say different vowel sounds. As you can see in left, makikita nyo dyan na may high, middle, low. So, yan yung position ng jaw natin kung paano natin ipopronounce yung mga words. So, yan yung makikita natin sa Victor Triangle.
The respiratory. Respiratory organs are the essential components of the respiratory system, which is responsible for the crucial process of breathing. Respiratory is a vital organ system in living organism responsible for the exchange of gases. Itong respiratory system is yung mga parts ng ating katawan. Katulad na lang ng ating nose, mouth, ganun. Examples of how the respiratory system functions in different organisms. For example, humans. We breathe in air through our nose or mouth and it travels down the airways to the lungs. In the alveoli, oxygen is absorbed into the blood and transported to the body cells. Carbon dioxide from the cell is then carried back to the lungs and exhaled. Yung hinihinga nating air is pumupunta ito pababa sa mga daanan ng ng hangin, which is yung airways na tinatawag. Kasi itong airways, siya yung nagkikarry ng hangin sa atin papunta doon sa lungs. Another example is fish. Fish have gills that allow them to extract oxygen from water. Water flows over the gills and oxygen diffuses into the blood. Carbon dioxide is released from the blood into the water. Dito sa fish is yung nakakahinga sila sa tubig dahil dun sa nila gills, or tawagin na nating hasang, ganun. Yun sa gilid. Nakakahinga sila sa tubig dahil dun sa hasang nila. Another examples is plants, yung mga halaman. Plants have tiny pores called stomata on their leaves that allow them to exchange gases with the atmosphere. They take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and releases oxygen as byproduct. And the last examples is earthworms or yung mga uod. Earthworms can breathe through their skin, which acts as an integumentary exchange area. Oxygen diffuses directly into their bloodstream through their moist skin. Nakakahinga yung mga uod dahil dun sa mga skin nila. So now, let's move on to the vocalizing and phonating parts. Vocalizing and phonating are terms related intricate parts of the body responsible for producing sounds, especially through speech and singing. These organs work in a coordinated manner to create the complex sounds we use to communicate and express ourselves. Kung nagtataka kayo is ano yung vocalizing and phonating, ang vocalizing po ay siya yung nag-reproduce ng sounds katulad nung speaking, singing, humming, or pwede rin siya nagkoko ng nonverbal expressions like laughter or crying, ganun po. And itong phonating naman is more specific and refers to the physical process of creating sounds by vibrating. Ang ginagawa nitong phonating is nagagawa rin siya ng sounds pero by vibrating. Nagbe-vibrate lang siya. Ganun. Here are some examples of vocalizing and phonating parts. For example, humans. Kapag nagsasalita tayo or kumakanta or even mag-whisper lang tayo, ang tawag po doon is vocalizing. Nagvo-vocalizing po tayo. The vocal folds within the larynx are phonating to create the sounds we hear. The last examples of vocalizing and phonating parts is musical instruments. Certain musical instruments such as the human voice rely on phonation to produce sounds. For example, a singer's vocal folds phonate to create the notes of a song. So let's move on to the resonating parts. Resonating parts are components within a system that vibrate at a specific frequency when exposed to an external force. This frequency is known as the resonant frequency, meaning resonance occurs when the frequency of an internal force matches the natural frequency of an object or system. This matching causes the object to vibrate with a larger amplitude than it would at other frequencies. Here are some examples of resonating parts and how they function. For example, the musical instruments. The string of a guitar or the body of a violin are designed to resonate at specific frequencies. creating the sounds we hear. When a string is blank or bowed, it vibrates at its natural frequencies, and the body of the instruments amplifies these vibrations. Articulatory parts. Articulatory parts are the movable and stationary structures within the human vocal tract that are used to produce speech or sounds. These structures work together to modify the airflow from the lungs, creating the sounds of language. Meaning, articulations. This refers to the process of producing speech sounds by manipulating the articulatory parts. Articulatory parts. These are the specific structures involved in articulation, including the active articulators and passive articulators. Ang active articulators ay ito yung mga movable parts katulad na lang ng lips, tongue, and velum. Ang passive articulators naman is the stationary parts katulad ng teeth, alveolar ridge, hard palate, and the velum. Here are some examples of how articulatory parts function in speech production. First is the lips. The lips are involved in producing bilabial sounds like p, b, and where both lips come together, and labiodental sounds like f and v, where the lower lip touches the upper teeth. And the second example is the tongue. The tongue is the most flexible articulator responsible for creating a wide range of sounds. It can touch different parts of the roof of the mouth, creating sounds like t, d, s, z, k, and g.
Let's proceed to vowel. First, I'm going to discuss how to make the proper vowel sounds in English. Vowels. To able to make the proper vowel sounds in English, one must be aware of the 5 characteristics that will determine how the sound is formed. So, the 5 characteristics that will determine how the sound is formed. So, first we have the tongue position. Second, tongue and jaw height. Third, lip position. Fourth, tension. And last, length. So, tongue position. So, yung tongue position is ito yung saan naka-locate yung dila natin kapag nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang vowel sounds. For example, the E. So, pag ipapronounce natin ng E, ang tongue position natin is nasa front. Next, we have the tongue and jaw height. Tongue and jaw height is ito naman yung kung saan nakaposition yung dila at panganap natin kapag nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang vowel sounds. For example, the E again. So, when you pronounce the E, yung dila natin is sa front while yung panga natin is nakataas. Next, you have the lip position. Lip position, ito naman yung kung nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang vowel sounds is nag-iiba yung position ng lips natin. For example, O. So, when we pronounce the O, yung lips natin is nagiging pabilog. Next, we have the tension. So, yung tension naman is napuproduce siya by muscular effort para ma-pronounce ang isang vowel sounds. For example, yung U. Need natin yung muscular effort para maging tense yung sounds ng vowel. Next, we have the length. So, length naman is ito yung gaano kahaba yung vowel sounds. Diphthongs. Diphthongs are the sounds produced when 2 vowels are combined which result to a blended sounds within a syllable. Diphthong sounds are created when one tongue and lips move quickly from one vowel position to a higher vowel position. So, diphthongs are 2 vowels that combine together to make one English vowel sounds. So, nag-create ang diphthong sa pag ang dila at labi natin is mabilis na lumilipat sa mas mataas na posisyon. For example, the word boy. We have 2 different vowel, the letter O and E. So, baka magtaka kayo kung bakit may E na vowels doon. Kasi when you pronounce the boy, yung Y sa last is parang nagiging I na siya. So, are two different vowels is O and I. So, magiging O na siya at magiging diphthong na siya. Consonants. So, consonants are sounds that fade by blocking the airflow. So, we have voicing consonants versus voiceless consonants. Voicing consonants have vibrating vocal cords, creating a buzzing sound. Meaning to say, yung voicing consonants is pag nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang consonant, is nag-vibrate yung vocal cords natin. For example, B, V, Z, and G. While voiceless consonants have non-vibrating vocal cords, resulting in a sharper sound. So, meaning to say, yung voiceless consonants is, pag nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang consonants, is hindi nagka-vibrate yung vocal cords natin. For example, P, T, F, and S. Nature of abstraction or manner of articulation. So, nature of abstraction or manner of articulation is ito yung mga topic about sa pagdaloy ng hangin. So, first we have the stops. So, stops, these are sounds created by stopping the passage of the breath with a buildup of pressure before the release of breath. Meaning to say, the produce yung stops kapag nagpo-pronounce tayo ng isang consonants, for example, P, mapapansin natin kapag ipopronounce natin sa P, yung unahan niya is walang lumalabas ng hangin while sa dulo niya is lumalabas yung pressure air. So, we have the three stops, the bilabial stops, alveolar stops, and velar stop. Second is bilabial stop. So, bilabial stops is produced with both lips together. For example, P and B. Next, we have the alveolar stops. So, alveolar stop is produced by pressing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge, which is located behind the teeth. For example, T and D. Last, you have the velar stop. So, velar stop is produced by blocking the airflow with the back of the tongue against the soft palate. For example, K and G. Fricatives. Fricatives are created when the air is not completely stopped but goes through with a hissing sound or friction. Fricatives are consonants or consonant sounds with the vocal tract, only partially closed, this allowing air to pass through. So, meaning to say, ang fricative is di siya totally closed yung airflow natin. May lumalabas na konting hangin which is nagkukos ng hissing sound like S. So, we have 6 fricatives. The labiodental fricatives, dental fricatives, alveolar fricatives, post-alveolar fricatives, palatal fricatives, and last, glottal fricatives. Labiodental fricatives. Labiodental fricatives is produced with bottom lip against upper teeth. For example, F and W. Next, we have the dental fricatives. Dental fricatives produced by placing the tip of the tongue between the teeth. For example, T in think and D in da. Next, you have the alveolar fricatives. Alveolar fricatives produced by placing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge, which is located behind the teeth, creating a narrow opening that forces the air to flow through with friction. For example, S and Z. Next, we have the post-alveolar fricatives. Post-alveolar fricatives is produced by raising the tongue just behind the alveolar ridge. For example, R. Next, you have the palatal fricatives. Palatal fricatives is produced by raising the middle part of the tongue to the palate. For example, Sh and J in judge. Last, you have the glottal fricatives. Glottal fricatives is produced by using the glottis, the space between vocal cords. So, napaproduce yung glottal fricatives by glottis. Yung glottis natin is ito yung nilalabasan ng hangin. For example, H. Affricate. Affricates can be created when a stop is combined with a fricative. As with the fricatives, there are also consonants. These sounds can be prolonged as long as the speaker wants to. So, yung affricates is combination ng stop at fricative, which is kapag nagpo-pronounce ng consonants is mag-stop yung airflow sa una at lalabas ang pressure air sa dulo ng may halong hissing sounds kasi combination siya ng stop at fricative. Ang affricates is pwede humaba yung sounds hanggang sa gusto ng nagpo-pronounce. So we have one affricates, the alveolar affricates. Alveolar affricate is produced by pressing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge, which is located behind the teeth. For example, the ch in chance and cheer, and j in jump and judge. Nasals. Nasals can be produced when the air passes through the nose and not the mouth. Meaning to say, ang nasal ay napoproduce kapag nagpo-pronounce ng isang consonants at lumalabas ang hangin sa ilong at hindi sa bunganga. So we have three nasal: the bilabial nasal, alveolar nasal, and velar nasal. Bilabial nasal are consonants where the airflow is black in the mouth but allowed to escape to the nose. For example, Next, we have the alveolar nasal. Alveolar nasal produced by placing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge, allowing air to flow through the nasal cavity. For example, Next, we have the velar nasal. Velar nasal, the tongue touches the velum, blocking airflow in the mouth, while the lower soft palate allows air to flow through the nasal cavity. For example, in thing. Lateral. Lateral sounds are created when air is stopped in the center by the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge, while your breath passes either one or both sides of the tongue. Meaning to say, kapag magpropronounce tayo ng isang consonant letter, ay malalabas na hangin sa bottom side natin or sa isang side lamang ng dila natin. So we have one lateral, the alveolar lateral. Alveolar lateral is produced by pressing the tip of the tongue against the alveolar ridge. For example, E. Semivowels. Some vowels are consonants that sounds vowel-like. There is no friction made when making the sounds. Meaning to say, ang semivowels ay ito yung may pagka-similar yung vowel sa consonants. So we have the bilabial and palatal. Sa example ng bilabial ay ang W. For example, the snow and cow. Papansin nyo, ang dulo ng snow and cow is parang nagiging U na siya. So, sa vowel natin is meron tayong A, E, I, O, U. So, yung similar ng W is U. Sa palatal naman, merong example ay ang Y. So, we have the spy and boy. So, mapapansin natin, ang dulo ng spy and boy ay parang nagiging I na siya. Kaya, ang similar ng Y is ang E. Point of articulation. We have the bilabial, labiodental, alveolar, post-alveolar, palatal, velars, and glottal. Bilabial, when lower lip touch the upper lip to produce the sounds. For example, P, B, M. Napapansin nyo, ang lower lip natin is natatouch ang upper lip. Next, we have the labiodental. Labiodental, when the lower lip comes in contact with the upper front teeth. For example, and mapapansin natin, yung lower lip natin is napupunta sa upper front teeth. Next, we have the alveolar. Alveolar, the sound is created when the tip of the tongue is raised near the back of the upper front teeth. For example, t in chance and j in judge. Next, we have the post-alveolar. Post-alveolar, when the tongue is slightly behind the alveolar ridge, as the R sound. Next, we have the palatal. Palatal, when the tongue is arched towards the palate, like the consonants. For example, sh. Next, we have the velars. Velars, when the back of the tongue is against the soft palate, or velum, as when the creating the sound k. Next, we have the glottal. Glottal, the sounds of air when the friction is produced as it goes through the glottis, like h sound.
Rhythm of English is created through the recurrence of unstressed and stressed syllable. So, stress is a sound we put on a syllable or word to make it stand out from the group. We have three elements in the rhythm of English. Number one is the force. What is force? Force is shows the intensity or loudness. Example of this is I want to go to the park. So the word go is emphasized, giving it rhythmic prominence. Without the force, ang sentence ay magiging I want to go to the park. Magiging flat yung word na go.
What is pitch? Pitch is about the tone refers to how high or low a sound is perceived. It's determined by the frequency of sound waves, with higher frequencies corresponding to higher pitches. For example, high pitch, a squeaky voice, a high note on a violin. Low pitch, a deep voice, a low note on a cello. Duration. Duration refers to the length of time a sound is held or produced. It applies to vowels, consonants, and even silences or pauses. For examples, short duration. The vowel sound in beat is short. The S sound in cats is short. Long duration. The vowel sound in beat is long. The S sound in castles is long. In summary, pitch is about the tone and duration is refers to the length or vowel sound.
So, intonation of English. Intonation of English refers to the music of language and technical term for tune. So, kapag sinabi po nating intonation, ito po yung pagtataas at pagbababa ng boses po kapag nagsasalita. So, we have here the basic tone of English or we could say level of tone. So, may apat po tayong basic tone of English. Number 1 is low tone. Number 2 is normal tone. Number 3 is high tone. Number 4 is extra high. So, 1, 2, 3 is commonly used. 4 is used when strong emotion are expressed, like you are so happy, so angry, so excited, you often use extra high tone. So, we have two kinds of intonation. Number 1 kind is the rising falling intonation. Number 2 is rising intonation. So, we will discuss the rising falling intonation. So, rising falling intonation, it is a normal tone, then it will rise and will go down. That's why rising falling intonation. So, may dalawa pong types yung rising falling intonation. Number 1 is the slide or inflection. So, from normal tone, then it will rise and hindi pa muna siya bababa. It will inflected so you create like a waves. For example is, good day. Good day. So, the good is the normal tone and the day is rise. Then it will create a wave tone like good day. Other example is the good night. Good is normal tone, then it will rise good night, like creating a wave. So, the number 2 types of rising falling intonation is the drop or shift. Ito po yung biglaang pag-drop down. From normal tone, then it will rise and it will suddenly go down or drop down. Hindi na po siya mag-wave. Example po nito is good morning, good evening. So, hindi po kagaya nung the slide or inflection na mag-wave po siya. Ito pong the drop or shift is biglaan po siyang bababa. From normal tone, good. More. More is the rising. Rise. Then ning. It will be drop down. Good morning and good evening. So that is rising, falling intonation. So the next kinds of intonation is the rising intonation. So this is happen when your pitch switch to a higher pitch. So for example, are you married? Am I right? So from normal tone, it will rise and it will not shut down. It will remain rising. So like what I gave example, are you married? Am I right? So are you is the normal tone. So tataas siya. Are you married? So hindi na siya bababa. Hindi kagaya nung rising falling intonation na maglo-lower po siya. Dito po sa rising intonation is remain na rise. It will remain rising. Am I right? Can you see that? So, yun po yung rising intonation. So, move po tayo sa variants that affect speech. So, we have 3 variants that affect speech. Number 1 po is aspiration of p, t, and k. So, what is aspiration first? Aspiration is the explosive release of air after the breath comes in contact parts of the speech mechanism. So, para malaman mo kung aspirated or hindi yung word, is gamitin mo ang kamay mo and put it in sa tapat ng mouth, and if you feel air on your hand, that means it aspirated. So, ang example niya po is the pool, table, kill. So, it's aspiration po because you feel the air after the breath. So, the number 2 variants that affect speech is the syllabic consonant, which are pronounced without a vowel. So, example po is the cotton. Hindi natin siya pinapronounce na cotton. It's cotton. Silent O po siya. So, other example po ng syllabic consonants is the sudden, final, hadden, shouldn't. Ang syllabic consonant po is yung mga words po na hindi po natin siya na-pronounce ng maayos with the vowel. Parang may nawawala po sa vowel. Like yung sudden. Hindi natin siya na-pronounce na sudden. Parang may vowel doon na nagiging silent po. Like final, hadden, shouldn't. And the last one that affect the speech is the vowel length. Vowel length refers to the length of the time to pronounce the vowel sound. How long or how short the vowel is. So, vowel length may be altered by 2 things. Number 1 is the stress. Number 2 is the syllable structure. So, the first one is the stress. Stress goes with the length of the vowel sound. So, I have 2 example sentence here. Number 1 is, can't he swim? Number 2, no, he can't. So, if you can notice, in the first sentence, the vowel and the word can't is pronounced shorter than the second example. So, the can't is pronounced longer compared on the first sentence. So, the next one po is the syllable structure. So, syllable structure is you are pronouncing the word based on their syllable structure. So, example, the meal, the seat, the seed. So, tama ang pagkaka-pronounce mo. Not long, not short. Hindi kagaya nung syllabic consonant na parang may nagiging silence sa word. Sa syllable structure is yung tamang pagkaka-pronounce mo. So, other example is the word divided into their component syllables. So, example is handkerchief, bakery. So, we pronounce it based on their syllables, diba? We say handkerchief, handkerchief, right? So, it is affect speech because not all words is pronounced based on their syllables.